Good afternoon. My name is Daniel and I'm the priest in charge of the parish here at Stanthorpe. And I just want to say thank you to all of you. You have taken your precious time to join John's family, to say thank you to God for the life, witness and ministry of John, and to celebrate with thanksgiving what John has meant to you, to the family members, to those who are so near and dear to him, and also to the wider community. So I want to say thank you on behalf of the families to come here with us and be present and to join with us, to say thank you to God for a good life that John has shared with us during the course of his life here. And we have also come together to thank God for the life of John, and also somehow or the other to mourn and also to honor John's contribution and to his life. And as he rests in peace, we live with his memories, with his laughter, with his joy, and we would like to share it with you through the memories that John has shared. So let us pray. Loving God, we thank you for this day. We thank you that you have given us once again a new life. We thank you that we were able to wake up and see our family members and to be with them at this time. Thank you as we slept last night. You protected us from all harms and dangers that may have come our way. And as we have gathered here to give you thanks for John's life, we thank you that you have brought us safely here and you will take us safely back to our homes and to our families. We celebrate and say thank you for John, his life, his ministry, his gifts, natural gift and a gift of fatherhood that you have given to him. We know and thank you that John's plan of salvation was born in your heart, O God, and you sustained and maintained his salvation, and now he rests in peace. You came and called him to take rest with you, so he's gone from us. Thank you for all the examples and memories that he has left for us. Be with us as we offer our thank you in all the prayers and supplication on behalf of John. Be with his children, his family members, and those who are so near and dear to him this day and many hours remaining in life. Amen. And let's all stand and sing our hymn, Amazing Grace. call upon Kate to read 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 to 8.
This is a reading from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 to 8. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonour others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails.
Andrew and Angus are happy to speak now. Can I call both of them?
We're here to reflect on the life of Jan van Klaveren, known to Australians as John. Over his 83 years, he led a varied life with many chapters, starting in the Netherlands, then migrating to Australia, before migrating to the Philippines, and then finally returning to Australia. John was never idle. He lived his life to the fullest, whether it was playing sport, singing, acting, sailing, fishing, in the garden or at work. If you were around John, there was always something happening. Whatever he did was never in part measures. He always gave all of himself to whatever he was doing. He loved a joke and a good laugh. He was prepared to give his time to help others, and being involved with the community in which he was living was an important part of his life. John was a child during the Second World War. He spent half of his pre-teen years living in occupied Amsterdam. Although only 4 years of age at its commencement, the war had a profound impact on his development. He spoke often of the difficulties faced by the family during this time. He was the only boy of 4 children, with a father who was absent for most of the 4 years of the war while active with the Dutch resistance. For most of this time, the family did not even know whether his father was still alive. John's memory of this period were vivid. He told of going foraging with his mother along railway lines and roadways for edible roots and leaves that could be cooked to provide some nutrition for the family. Such was the food shortage written in Amsterdam. At night, there was minimal heating, and during one terrible winter, he was reduced to sleeping under an old raincoat because soldiers had taken all the blankets. Despite this extraordinary adversity he experienced during the war and in the years following, or perhaps even because of it, he would never spend too much time dwelling on the past. He was an optimist, looking to make the most out of whatever situation he found himself in. It was during this period, in his childhood, that he developed a love for football that lasted his whole life. Of course, in Australia, football is an ambiguous word. It can mean one of at least 4 different sports. For John, though, it was very clearly the beautiful game, which many of us in Queensland know as soccer. However, when he called it soccer in his own inimitable accent, it never quite rang true. To hear him talk of football, however, was to see a spark ignite in his eyes. It was this spark that led him to be a regular fixture in the Stanfield competition, finally hanging up his boots at age 45. One of John's close childhood friends from the Netherlands, Hans, had come to Australia a couple of years previously and encouraged John to follow him. So, after completing 2 years of military service in the Dutch Air Force, John migrated to Australia, arriving in 1955 after a 6-week boat journey at the age of 20. I wonder how he saw his future at this time. had he heard tell of a vast southern country, sparsely populated with untold natural riches to be developed, or of mild sunny winters that would never remind him of the hunger winter? Did he feel any prior connection to the country on account of the famous Dutch explorers such as Abel Tasman and Dirk Hartog, who were among the first Europeans to chart its wild coastlines? And did he ever ask himself if he'd be returning to the life he knew in Amsterdam, or did he know he was leaving forever? He began working in a nursery in Melbourne and soon completed courses in landscaping and greenkeeping and would eventually obtain a diploma of horticulture. He was very involved in the community, working as a volunteer ambulance driver, teaching swimming and being active in the fire brigade. He was a keen rower and won the Victorian junior rowing titles in pairs. He often spoke of how close he came to qualifying for the 1960 Olympics, apparently missing out by only half a canvas. Clearly, such a broad, strapping, civic-minded lad with a European accent to boot would not remain single for long. And so it was in 1961 that he married one of Victoria's most eligible bachelorettes by the name of Carol White, who is with us today. Soon after their marriage followed their daughter Kate and then their son Robert. In the late 1960s, the young family moved north to Stanthorpe, where John took up an extension officer position with the Queensland Department of Primary Industries at the Applethorpe Research Station. He worked in this role for 6 years and created many lasting relationships with colleagues and the growers he advised. He really enjoyed this role, which ended when he and Carol purchased the Granite Nursery. Not unsurprisingly, for a region like ours, they focused on fruit trees and grapevines. John loved growing things, and he had the greenest of green thumbs. He made all kinds of plants thrive, but he was particularly proud of his veggie garden. He was not shy in promoting his methods. He believed that 3 words were just as important as fertiliser or water. If you watched him working, you would see him throw the last shovel of dirt over the newly planted roots before pausing briefly. With a love-smitten gaze and sudden tenderness, he'd say, "Grow, you bastard," and then move on to the next one. With a big grin, he always said that these 3 words were what gave their plants their magic star. Looking back over a career spanning more than 60 years, perhaps there's some truth to it. During his time in Stanthorpe, John was very active in the community. He loved singing and was involved in the Stanthorpe Choral Society. He sang in the choir and in over 20 musicals. He was very active in the Stanthorpe Show Society's wine subcommittee, was a secretary of the International Club and was president of the Rotary Club for some time. He was a larger-than-life character, and his charm and quick, irreverent sense of humour ensured he was tightly woven into the fabric of Stanthorpe.
One of my enduring memories of my grandfather is also one of my earliest memories. And I remember as a boy of maybe 3 or 4 years old, of being picked up by strong hands, hoisted high into the air. I'm sure I was probably squealing with glee at the time, hearing his voice saying, "Up, up, up on the cherry picker." For a boy who grew up on a fruit farm, nothing could have been more appropriate than that. This was a memory that I held on to over many years while our contact was limited to occasional letters and stilted phone calls punctuated by the delays of the old international phone system while we lived in the Philippines. When Grandpa wasn't growing plants or advising growers, he spent much of his leisure time around the water. The family would often load up the boat and trailer and head to Leslie Dam to go swimming, often competing in regattas, braving the bitter, frosty winter mornings. They also went on annual family holidays to Broken Head, and John, having loved the ocean waves, washing up around his feet while holding a fishing rod, found that fishing was an important thing and it was a focus of every holiday. Throughout his time in Australia, he stayed in contact with his family in the Netherlands. He wrote weekly to his parents and to his sisters, Emmy, Lois and Ellie, often receiving aerograms in return. In fact, such was the regularity of this contact that my grandmother Carol learned to read Dutch through reading all the aerograms that returned. And his parents and various siblings came for visits from the Netherlands, often staying for months at a time, and he stayed close with them until his death. In the early 1980s, he was awarded a Churchill Fellowship to study nursery practices and to gain some exposure to new varieties of fruit trees. With my grandmother, they travelled to the USA, Europe and Israel. Through this trip, Their nursery back here was able to secure Australian rights to one of the USA's most successful stone fruit breeding programs. And along with another major nursery owner in Victoria, my grandfather played a significant role in getting plant variety rights recognised by the Australian government. This at the time was an important development for Australian growers because previously unavailable genetic material was now able to be imported, and it actually led to a revolution in the stone fruit industry here. In the mid-1980s, John and Carol sold the nursery to their business partner Peter, who was the son of good friends Glenn and Anne Buchanan. After this, they left Stanfield, and Grandpa lived briefly in Toowoomba while he travelled to the Philippines increasingly often to pursue a business opportunity there in building low-cost steel framed housing. His son Rob, who had a similar business in Australia, began to travel there with him. Despite the potential business opportunity that existed, they encountered many difficulties in the Philippines, and the travel and financial burden took a toll on John and Carol's marriage, and it eventually led to their divorce. John remained in the Philippines, creating a new life near the city of Escalante on Negros Island, which is roughly in the middle of the Philippines. His unshakable work ethic that's been a feature of his life helped him to re-establish himself. He built a factory to process crab meat with a small farm alongside it, perched on small cliffs looking out to sea over the other Philippine islands. He remarried to Ninin, and together they assisted a small village to develop around the farm and the crab picking plant, where the factory workers and farm workers lived. They provided fresh water and electricity, and built a small shop with a karaoke bar to give the village a social focal point. And they assisted those who couldn't afford medication or hospital care to access what they required. Together, John and Ninin adopted a baby girl by the name of Yummy 11 years ago, and my grandfather was very devoted to her. He rejoiced in her academic and sporting success, and in fact, often, almost always when we spoke, he would tell us frequently, very proudly, about her recent test results, her progress in the class, where she was standing, and what her future aspirations were. We're very sorry that Yummy can't join us today, and we're also sorry that his surviving family members in the Philippines and the Netherlands are unable to be here, although they were able to hold a small service in his honour last week. Towards the end of his life, his health deteriorated, so his son Rob convinced him to come back to Queensland. Rob flew to the Philippines to accompany my grandfather back to Australia for the first time in over a quarter of a century. He had arrived 8 months ago and has been living with Rob's wife Helen, and his grandchildren Alex and Nick in Toowoomba. With good medical care, his health improved rapidly, and it was clear that he'd lost nothing of the quick, cheeky humour that he knew. Nor had he lost his lifelong motivation and drive. I think he really enjoyed this time spent so close to family towards the end of his life. He's never been one for long, drawn-out goodbyes, and it was perhaps fitting that not many days after boasting that he felt like he could live to 100 years old, he passed away suddenly. And I'm very glad, from a personal point of view, through his son Rob and his family's support, that he could once more know this feeling of being healthy, that I too could see him again after so many years overseas. His life was a rich, varied life that he lived to the fullest, and it was a life with all of its highlights that has left the world a better place. I believe that he would have wanted us to remember it and to think about one thread in particular that bound it together. Perhaps this thread took root in the solidarity of wartime Amsterdam, or perhaps it might have developed in him anyway. Let's remember the importance that he placed on community, on getting involved in clubs and organisations, on helping those around him, and giving back to the world with no expectation of anything in return. This is a thread that's really bound his life together, and for which he deserves to be remembered. He'll be missed greatly by friends and family spread across 3 different continents.
I will read Psalm 23, a psalm written by David, King David, after a lot of meditation and soul searching, and he writes like this: "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's a blessed assurance in this psalm that we read that God's protection and providence is always available to us at all times. Now the Lord's Prayer is there, and I invite you to join with us if you would like to say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Michael.
Remember me. To the living, I am gone, but to the happy, I am at peace. And to the faithful, I have never left. I cannot speak, but I can listen. I cannot be seen, but I can be heard. So as you stand upon a shore, or gaze at wind in the trees, remember me. As you look upon a flower and admire its simplicity, remember me. Remember me in your heart, your thoughts, and your memories of the times we loved, of the times we cried, of the times we laughed. For if you always think of me, I will never have gone. I'm waiting for you somewhere very near, just around the corner, all is well.